Sometimes it gets stuck. So now it's picking up. I'm going to drink. Oh, it's
Just make sure I'm praying at our time.
Someone's trying to get our attention.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Don't do this at home. I don't. Why should you? Have all the fun. Sorry about that. Now that you're listening, I can say anything I want. I did, when I did my set, I did forget to include one small piece. It's a controversial piece. And someone asked me to do a haiku with certain parameters attached to it. They wanted a historical haiku of note. And I said, well, how about this? And it goes like this. The Old Testament, the Jewish genocides in their own words. And they said, what does that mean? They go, read your pumpkin waggles. All right, so it's Guy. Guy's coming up. You're the kicker off of it's over there. We put it over there. And he is the launch part, the last word. He begins and ends the second half. So, give me a round of applause here for him.
You want to keep it back here?
Yeah, as long as it's good for him.
Okay.
Or I can move.
It's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but listen, see, look at him. He looks so beautiful up there.
He's got that. I like it when he flips his hair.
It's in my eyes.
There you go. Give him a round. Come on, this guy. Kicking it off, daring us. Where eagles flare.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you. I'm going to read 2 short pieces.
All right.
This first one is called Her Pockets Are Made of Poems. I find folded bits of paper in her pockets as I do the laundry. Poems she took to the open mic to share, waiting to catch the evening's drift before deciding which one to unfold. Pockets full of poems. Poems from this morning, poems from last year, poems about children in cages, poems about her own sequestered youth, poems about an orchestra of clouds, poems about her dying cat resting in a slice of sunlight. Poems of us together, these years apart, and then together once more. Lost poems, forgotten poems, washed poems I didn't find until it was too late. Laundered and dried, faded and gone. Poems unwritten and poems unread as I fold clean laundry on an unmade bed.
Nice. My wife would like that
Love it. That's a Valentine's song.
And this one's called Invisible Shelf. Yeah. We need places to put things. We need names to call things. We need to say what needs to be said, even if we don't know how to say them. And sometimes, even if they don't need to be said. So in the end, I build an invisible shelf, a shelf only I can see, where words don't fail, where rudimentary skills don't mangle, where things I later wish I hadn't said don't bruise or spoil. I can really only do 2 things in this life. I'm doing one now. Building an invisible shelf where I can put how I feel about you, so I can see with much love what it's really about, what you mean to me with no weirdness or misunderstanding or wrong label. So if you were to find this poem on the fiction shelf, or this little fiction in poetry, this avocado in the bin of tomatoes, this toothbrush where aluminum foil should be, know that somewhere in a market, in a bookstore, in a house that floats, there's an invisible shelf where sits how I feel about you, and nothing else.
like to say?
Well, no one is paying attention, but tonight we're supposed to come up with a poem on the word schbuckle?
Spuckle, yes.
Schbuckle.
Yes.
And last week I thought it was supposed to be words I should have.
That's a
All right. Here's a piece I wrote a long time ago before I thought about getting back into doing things publicly. And it's called A Call to Magic. The wind whistles through the trees, do you hear? Morning sun is hidden in gray, do you see? Your shoulder bumped someone else's, do you feel? The child just fell and her face is scrunched up in silence before the wail, did you flinch? All around, every sight and sound, they're all calls to magic. They beckon you to play each and every day, they're all calls to you, you are magic. Believe in what you feel, believe your time is real, believe in the call to magic. It's underneath your short-sightedness, it's underneath your forgetfulness, it's underneath the dull, it's underneath the shudder. The magic is calling way down below, it's a non-boogeyman wherever you go. Follow your heart, listen to your soul, remember what it likes your smile, follow a call to magic. And the last one, the ending, not quite so happy with it yet, but here we go. It's called Adults. The smell of the cafe's eats beat the breeze, the rhythm made all our nostrils shudder. We waited in line with a practiced courtesy that curbed primal urges to simply grab food off someone else's plates. Waiters rubbed it into us patient people standing in line by passing plate after plate, piled high with bacon, fluffy cinnamon swirl pancakes, maple syrup, and cup after cup of wonderful coffee right under our noses. The insult could only be topped by placing them in front of seated guests right in front of us, those lucky bastards. There was one waiting who acted quite naturally under the circumstances, a young man who felt free to express himself. In a popular cafe stuffed with happy patrons eating platters of goodie, he let out a hyena yell. The howler was a boy of about 12 with erratic motor skills. In the small waiting area, which was just inside the door, he jumped up and down, hands whipping this way and that. I smiled because I liked his gusto, but for learned behavior, I too would be yelling and jumping up and down with anticipation of tasty food. I'd always enjoyed meeting kids who heard a different call and was waiting to learn lean in to make small talk with, as I'm guessing, parents. They and I were standing right next to each other, awaiting a table, and I thought their son broke the ice enough. My gaze searched for theirs, but soon I realized it wouldn't be met. Their expressions were a shared anguish. Their watery eyes sat deep in sockets, anchored by half moons slung with flesh below. The weariness didn't stop there. Their mouths were but tense slits across pale skin, deeply creased by stress rather than wrinkled by time. Dad had turned his head away from the boy, instead pivoting his greasy, tiny ponytail along his shirt collar to meet his son's face. He had joined the unknown fellow patrons looking anywhere but at the boy. Only one adult was left to deal, the mother. In fairness, though, who knew how many times Dad may have had to be that adult? Perhaps just this morning he took his turn and now it was Mom's. Maybe he wasn't even a dad, or maybe it was his boy alone, and what I assumed it was his mom was really a sister visiting to help him out once in a while. Regardless, it was her turn to calm the boy, and she deftly did. She tenderly cupped his hands in hers, buckled her taller body so her face could gaze into his and have their eyes meet. In this practiced and locked embrace, she conveyed to him in hushed tones to lower his voice and settle. This was a place to be calm. He got it right away and relaxed. She looked relieved. Perhaps it wasn't always this easy to calm the boy, as fortune had granted today. But maybe it was time for fortune to pay them some kindness. Who knew what their morning had been like to get there? And not just this morning, but every morning. Without break, they had to cater to their son. Then they had to learn techniques to escort him through public places that recoiled when he let loose unbridled expression that was natural for him. I wanted to reach out and say, hey, I see you, and I really appreciate you, and I am so grateful for your son and your loving him. In an instant, adult training took hold. Better to stay quiet. It was normal not to say anything. The adult result was another uneasy morning that was normal. I wish I had heeded another call.
And then after Buford, I'm going to introduce the door prizes. I've been saying I was going to do that, and I've been forgetting horribly. So after Buford, door prizes, then Hal. that we're doing around here. So I know.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm this big, tall guy. Compared to Dan, I'm
To
like,
me.
I'm below level
You're good.
compared to Dan.
Just
But John, my older brother John, bipolar, a good man with much anger, yelled at me and every other family member, a disease overcoming. My curveball. My curveball, sometimes unhittable. The heat of Alabama, even at night, unbearable. I wipe off the baseball with a rosin bag. Inside the rain, people munching on burritos, 2 chicken pieces for my love and me. Life wet for today, I adore her. I have to go. She finishes her orange soda. My Diet Coke long gone in the corner of 18th Street and Valencia Meal. Everything's going on with me. Love issues, a funky hip that's gotten better. You and your beautiful curls dyed brown, just as good when gray. My heart embedded in yours. No teaching right now robbing me of that pleasure. Most everything I do right now, a little rote. What I must do to survive. Can I do one more?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike. My little brother, former double sports star, especially baseball, 5 times All-Star, curveball thrown crookedly, the fastball moving, basketball arched long.
And the mighty and wonderful Hal Robbins of Oz. Actually, he's not from Oz.
And then after Hal.
I've never been there.
Britt, our mini feature DVD.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one to follow the theme. You remember David Erdreich saddled us with it. Spuckle.
Saddle.
A
Yes.
spitty chuckle, I believe. Yes, and then he didn't come in anyway.
Yeah, right?
Here we go.
He sucks.
Said to be a spitty chuckle, the concept for tonight is spuckle. This takes me back to when, at school, we had a lecturer who'd drool. He told of literary ventures wetly through ill-fitting dentures. The first 2 rows were well aware of spit drops flying through the air. And as this the students noted, away from them the lesson floated. While he laughed, the drops would fly. Ignored, only his wit was dry. Teachers, beware. They seem to follow, yet their attention may be hollow. The slightest quirk of presentation sends young minds off on a vacation. And I'm going to do this one by Randall Jarrell. Bats. A bat is born naked and blind and pale. His mother makes a bucket of her tail and catches him. He clings to her long fur with his thumbs and toes and teeth. And then the mother dances through the night, fluttering and looping, soaring, somersaulting. Her baby hangs on underneath. All night in happiness, she hunts and flies. Her high, sharp cries, like living needlepoints of sound, go out into the night, and echoing back tell her what they have touched. She hears how big it is, how far it is, how fast it's going. She lives by hearing. The mother eats the moths and gnats she catches in full flight, in full flight. The mother drinks the water of the pond she skims across. Her baby hangs on tight. Her baby drinks the milk she makes him in moonlight, in starlight, in mid-air, their single shadow printed on the moon or fluttering across the stars reels on all night. At daybreak, the tired mother flaps home to her rafter. The others all are there. They hang themselves up by their toes. They wrap themselves in their brown wings, their sharp ears, their sharp teeth, their quick, sharp faces are dull and slow and mild. All the bright day, while the mother sleeps, she wraps her wings about her sleeping child.
Thank you, Hal. I'm going to do the announcements. I really want to do the door prizes very quickly. I'm sorry to do this. Gustave Flaubert, Sentimental Education, from the American Bookbinders Museum, a journal of note and merit, which is nice. The Voices We Carry, recent Italian-American women's fictions by editor Mary Jo Mona. A set of bookmarks and or cards. These have names, of course, of noted Native Americans and a little bit of biography on the back, just so you know. Haight-Ashbury Literary Journal, the one with K.R. Morrison in it. Great writer. She's going to be featured here somewhere in January, I think, or February. On Imagination by Mary Ruppel. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then an issue of Prism International. And I'm not in it. Never mind, I won't. And then, of course, if those don't float your boat, you can be a co-pilot or the mini feature, the keynote. Choose the theme of the prompt, be the other co-pilot, or the last word, just so you know. What?
I mean, it sounds like you're at the end now.
No, I'm just doing these because I didn't do them before, much as I am amiss. So now, isn't it Britt?
It's Britt.
Just throw my glasses on. Britt here are many of the evening. Give them a nice round.
And after Britt is Greg Tom.
All right, now we're moving along.
There'll be no sprockles in any of this.
Sparkle.
Sparkle?
Thank you.
That's why I didn't do it.
Thank you.
Are you vexed? Vexed, rubbed the wrong way by the Kentucky Colonel, by Humpty Dumpty sitting on a corrupt wall, a stone wall, and with gangsters in the highest offices of government. Vexed by Rudy, the West Side idiot, drifting into senility, but he's rich. Vexed by a smooth-faced lawyer saying stealing an election is a misdemeanor. Vexed by kids kept in cages, still there. Millions displaced, the permanent war continually fed. Vexed that greedy bastards are killing the planet with their businesses. Vexed by all the bad jobs enslaving the next couple of generations, clouding their minds and paving over their dreams, none of which should be ignored. Let me also say that I'm vexed by the bus service, the complexity of age, and the current weather.
Just keep the list going there. You're good.
Okay. Shipwrights in a field, a good job. Every morning you could hear old Ernie talking to a group of guys before the startup whistle. Good morning, gentlemen. And a little into it, he'd always say, now back in horse and buggy days, an aura of the Ninth Ward around him before the demise of Storyville. He gave me a ride home once. It was the day after the '64 election. I waited up to 10:30 last night. I waited for that son of a bitch to come out and concede. He never did. No wool over Ernie's eyes, wisdom from the ground up, aged and minted. 2. Ernie showed us how to shim a standing strut so that the board placed over it would lie flat. What seemed like a difficult task, no struggle, an easy finish. We thanked him. We were grateful. He saved our jobs. 3. My partner Milton, not his fighting name, won 4 straight bouts, mid-50s, Oakland Auditorium. In downtime demonstrated his moves to me, scared the shit out of me, the difference between an athlete and your average human being. My partner loved jazz and cried when his cat died. Rolling down a line of boxcars where we worked, cigar in his mouth, lunch pail, his trainer's voice in his ear, coming out to center ring, Silk Row, anxious crowd, Oakland Auditorium. 3. Boxcars on a siding near the Oakland estuary, tearing up and rebuilding boxcars for the Crowley outfit, all one summer. A prize fighter and a peacenik, partners, maybe the best job we ever had. Crowbars, air gun whir, shimming struts, new floors bolted down, new walls, fresh boxcars for the Crowley Empire, route of the hydroplanes in far Alaska. Here's another esoteric one. Poetic sources. Not to worry about the fragments, Petrarch's love wrapping dry fish, or the bits and pieces gathered from fields, wavelengths, and insistent memory. Were they around the radio wanting an entire poem, or a key, a prompt? Were Orpheus and Cocteau listening to the broadcast from the very beginning? The only thing we have to fear, FDR. Rochester, yes, Mr. Benny. Milton Cross and opera from the Met. Were they? Are we listening to the static between the lines or listening to the very end? Addio del passato, Traviata's refrain. While kids, want-to-bes, and actual poets were at the Cinema Guild, crammed in, watching Orpheus taking notes. Coming back, let's see it again. Jack Spicer climbed through the screen at the little theater to listen in, but was run over by 2 bikers on his way home. Do these messages still have meaning? The radio, the ghosts, the old films? That ought to hold the little bastards. Marty Keel. I give you President Hobart Heaver, Mr. Von Zell. This is Ed Murrow from London. Frankly, my dear, big-eared Gable. Sam, say it isn't so, Mary Astor. Poets at the radio. Orpheus's unstrung lyre. Not to worry about the fragments, the unframed poem, or that Petrarch saw Laura only once strolling through the wooded grove.
Wow. Thank you for Peter Armini of the evening and his generosity.
Greg Pond.
Mr. Greg Pond and then
Antoinette.
And then Antoinette. And this is Greg Pond here, so just so you know.
Okay, first I want to mention on Friday at 7:30, Beat Museum, Overthrowing Capitalism.
Oh, good.
It's the second half of the one from last week. On Saturday at 7:30, Black and Brown Social Club. There'll be a poetry reading featuring Michael War and Sarah Menifee. And this is Black and Brown Social Club on Valencia near 16th.
Okay. So right across the street almost from Manny.
Yes, across the street from Manny's. And then on Sunday, 10:30, Howard Zinn Book Fair
Yes.
Yeah.
on Valencia. So anyway, so I'm going to start off with 2 short poems by H.D. Moe.
Oh, good.
H.D. Moe on our
H.D.
memorial
Moe
wall
right
right there.
there.
And this first one is just 2 lines, but I just
Okay,
like
length.
the image here.
Can you talk outside?
Okay.
Thank you.
Cradling down to the ground, one autumn leaf is 100 smiles.
Wow.
Okay? And now here's the other one. It's a little longer, and listen carefully this one. After raiding the brownies through an open window in our Honda, swiping across my poem, a chocolate handprint left by one stoned raccoon.
All right, somebody had a good time.
Okay, now these are serious, so I let the fun ones go for it. All right, these are mine. This is Shelter. Letters lost in the snow. Few places left to go for shelter from late night storms, struggling to stay warm. On their own in the pre-dawn frost, they wander blindfolded, stumbling without structure or original thought of their own. They huddle up cold, so I keep them close. Protect, screen, and guide them through dreams. House, feed, and keep them mostly clean, but leave them free to roam. These vagrant verses, vagabond verbs, transient sentences, homeless words, seeking shelter in any way, just to make it to the safety of a poem. Now, I'm not sure of the title on this one, but I'm calling it Explorers, Exploiters. When they said they discovered what already belonged to others, when they came to lay claim in their mother country's name, explorers crossed the seas to seize, exploit, and plunder, then torture, kill, or capture those they chose not to rape. When settlers first arrived, they planned to extract the natural from selected trees, rivers, and mines. So they confiscated precious resources from mountains, ground, and skies, justified their acts with Bible and gun that began to colonize. Using terror to whomever wouldn't surrender with deceit, cheating, and lies. They led massacres over occupied spaces where millions of innocent died. They desecrated sacred culture, left a trail of tears, a pile of bones, a circle of vultures. Their arrogance on full display, they now routinely pave paradise to put parking lots and condos on top of indigenous graves, and continue to marginalize through the use of slow genocide without second thought or reservation. They've not only kicked dirt over centuries of hurt, but what's even worse, they've so skillfully twisted facts that they now come to believe they've always owned this native land they've stolen as they hide their blood-stained tracks.
Well,
Thank you.
The mighty great Pond. Oh, yeah.
Antoinette, is Candy.
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 You give Antoinette a round, please. A regular and mainstay person of voice, merit, and heart and soul.
Thank you, Dan.
What you know, of course. You know.
Haight-Ashbury ghosts mingle with homeless neighbors out where we don't look. All pretense is lost at night under cover, carrying belongings, both minimal and necessary. We are invisible elders living in city's hustle, hippie sages recalling humanity's prayer. Like a pledge sustained, seasons maintain every foggy haze under street lights, giving small kindnesses that are never enough. Wreck this place. Formidable needs hold pleasure at bay. Go figure, our world spears passion. Center sin dies every 24. Errors held in perspective. Recall how ease took control. Reckon good people open up to possibility without regard to outcome. Okay, these are all short. People are like onions, many skins, hidden layers peeled, colored irises gathered in pastels, kinship beauty attracted or repelled, nameless desire hollowed out core, soul-centered, two at least form bouquets like families banded together. When you died, you stayed in the corners of my eyes, held space in my throat, hollowed out my heart. Love had nowhere to go. I did not sit with you that night, did not say you were dying. Burnt sage instead, held your hand, wet your lips, prayed for you, and woke to silence. Everything changes, whether loved or feared. Winter winds invade through open windows, carrying you in.
Thank you.
This one's a little bit longer, it's the last one. Opening night to meet mappers, foremost antiquarians, collectors, before weekend crowds doused thousands of maps in kerosene, blazed at the drop of a hat, burnt raw, then blackened ash, packed the best tools, including hope and desire, clay carved from destiny, formed before wanderers could look back, suitcase travel with wheels, daily partner, my purse, valise, for business nomenclature, paper or plastic, walker piled high for homeless, briefcase, combo locked, basket tote, backpack looks for poetry, pencils, fanny pack offers, hands-free memories. When fear's baggage is too great, we cannot afford the weight.
Thank you.
Candy. And after Candy is Mark.
Mitch. It says Candy there, so it's Mitch.
Candy.
Oh, yeah, and then Mark R.
Apparently they call me Mitch.
Okay.
They do. What can I say?
No, that's fine. I just,
No, Baron.
I forget everything.
Yes.
So do I.
Good. Yeah, we're a team. What's my name?
Man.
Mitch.
Mitch.
Rhymes with. They look at me and ask, Candy, when are you going to have kids? Apparently, not having kids is a selfish move. It makes no sense. It's an intentional deprivation. I usually blow it off. Don't really give it another answer. Why should I? Why are so many eyes on my uterus anyway? This isn't show and tell. They say, what if you marry a man who wants kids? In my head, I think, well, isn't that what dating is for? To figure that out beforehand? To them, I smile and say, I ain't married yet. Maybe wait until I reach that bridge, i.e. get a ring on my empty finger. However, in this day and age, I figure just by looking through his profile, I can figure out quite quickly if I swipe based on if he wants kids. They say I should at least have one and try it out. I wonder, what's the return policy on babies? It doesn't look very comfortable coming out. I really doubt that after all that, I would want to push it back in. I wonder, could I call the stork back? Hey, This supposed gift you left for me, it cries, keeps me up, needs attention, food, and a diaper change. Can you swing by and pick this one back up? I think it's broken. And no, I don't want a replacement. I decided this just doesn't work for me. They say, you're a woman. You should have some. I should also drink less beer, eat less sugar, save, spend less money. See my point? They say, well, who is going to take care of you when you get older? Well, what's the guarantee that my imagined kids would? They tell me that I am going to miss out on the ultimate love. What they don't realize is that I am the second oldest of 8 kids. I already have parented. My childhood should have been called parent sisterhood. My parents had kids, but didn't want to raise them. So I babysat, changed diapers, soothed, entertained, disciplined, tried to set a good example, led, cried, worried, and I still do, held, nurtured, been loved, been liked, been hated, feels like that's the majority of the time, been blamed, relied upon, prayed I was doing my best, aching under the pressure, taking care of. I have raised kids. This is my time. It's okay for me to not want kids. It's okay. And then they say, but you're so good with kids. And I say, I'm microdosing. They say, don't blame them. They did your best. I wish I could reply, you don't know, you weren't there, it could have been better, he deserved better, we deserved better. Instead, I smile and say thank you. There are 27 days left of this created decade. What do we do with that? Apparently they call me Mitch.
Oh, and then Sharon, the hit of the winter season, our winter season.
My student, how you doing, my friend? Been a while. Thank you.
We are in the presence of greatness, and I'm not talking about me. Come on, it's about you. All of us. Talking about all of us. Okay.
Yeah.
But don't vote for me. I'm running from office. Only those under 18 should be allowed to vote. Thank you so much.
Can't do any worse than what we got.
That's what I'm saying. You know.
They just need history lessons.
I'm not going to play this yet. I'm going to read something out of here. I'm just reminding myself, you guys just don't talk amongst yourselves. Thank you very much. Not just when I'm up here. Let's respect each other and this mic. I'm using it and it's using me. This is my friend Mike. He's a user. Dear Damn to Donald. I didn't know the title was this until tonight because I was writing this to a housemate, but you'll see what I don't know who the Don, it's not Donald Duck. I dare not deal with the depths of denial and drown in what you've deigned to dip your stubborn ego trip down to. My throat. It's not my job. I pray to say, to show you the way out. I'm trying to, don't follow me, I'm lost too. That long ago childhood, old ago fear from father's fists and brothers' brawls and weathered weird anger and countless dreamless nights, or were they just so scary your conscious mind was protected by your subconscious? But I know what I saw and heard you do and say. So until and unless the day dawns when you can awaken to what I know is true, I cannot trust you as a friend, maybe a fiend. It's one letter less. Nearly as much as you seem to want me to, or nearly as much as you seem to want me to be, leave you, trust me. And I do not, cannot, will not. I barely trust me. Only too well, I know, only too well how often I've let my anger get the best of me. and the best is yet to come. Wait a minute, there's something in my third eye. Wait. Oh, God. Okay, now for my next, whatever the flank.
Now for something completely different.
Demagogic, pretzologic, quite quixotic, periodic, pathetic pathos, promulgating pontification of and pomposity of verbosity. I was in a real good mood that day. Yo, hi ho and ahoy and a vast and a half mast for fallen friend and foe alike. This was on Veterans Day. So how do I access the excess of egress of economic excess? And then I just got one more and then I'll play that. Whatever them things are over there. I think they're Mississippi saxophones. I like that nickname the best. This one's Shh. Does the title of this public service announcement remind you of what libraries were like up until 15 or 20 years ago? I'm not going to read the whole thing. That was just for those of us, because I did a little too. We're talking over the people up here who are on the mic, see, which I just got off of, which I'm back on now. Even I could figure that out. I'm back down in the alley. Grateful Dead said red and white and them blue suede shoes. You can call my mess them same old new U.S. blues. I am Uncle Scam, that's who the hell I am. And I've been hiding out in the swamps of Vietnam and in the sand. What's a damn? I'll make you believe I killed Bin Laden and his son. They're like Nixon of old, I'll beg your pardon. I am Uncle Scam. I spell it S-C-A-M, and I just don't sing. Give a good goddamn. I will blind your mind, you will believe I'm kind. I'll poison your waters and your unborn sons and daughters. Steal your women's voices, I'll rob all your choices, then I'll take your taxes. That's exactly what the facts is. I am Uncle Scam. That's who the hell I am. Everybody for president. I didn't say nobody for president. I didn't say anybody for president. I am Uncle Scam. That's who the hell I am. But that genocide is just suicide. Uncle Scam can't hide too long. Our eyes are open way too wide. Our love is much too strong.
Yeah.
I am Uncle Scam, that's who the hell I am, and I've been hiding out in your pocket so bad.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I wrote that when the first bush was in the orifice, and unfortunately, it's far more serious now.
All right, then we have Tarita after Scott's got finished.
Oh, after,
Yeah.
not after Zach, but after,
Well,
okay.
Zach has,
He left?
no, he's here, but he doesn't know, he wasn't sure if he wants to do something.
Oh.
I'll come back.
We will figure this out in a moment. Slow motion, so
I'm good. I'll
Okay,
come back
I
next
just want to make sure because
He is good. He's good.
I know, but he's still here, and I just want to make sure
You're
you're
good too.
Thanks for checking.
But you got to come back.
Yeah,
Got
for sure.
Even with him.
We're gonna.
Yeah,
He's coming back on my shoulders, and we're gonna lift some boulders. And I don't know.
Oh,
Only when it's colder.
there we go. Can I go over that point? Because it's going to stress you out there a little bit. We are, but
I'm old, I'm always stressed. Okay?
you're under stressed?
I said I'm old, I'm always stressed.
Oh, sorry, I totally misunderstood that.
You cannot belong to anyone else until you belong to yourself. Pearl Bailey.
That's right.
Your crown has been bought and paid for. All you must do is to put it on your head. James Baldwin. Be as you are and hope that it's right. Dizzy Gillespie. It's that time of the year. Newfangled tree. After Thanksgiving, everyone is excited about Christmas. Old ladies want to be the first to get their cards in the mail. Mrs. Green, a retired school teacher, was so impatient hers always arrived exactly the day before Thanksgiving. Others always made sure theirs arrived the day after. For this she thought them to be lazy. Mrs. James usually got around to sending hers sometime in January, more toward the end. That was a local joke, but inside each card she would tuck a crisp $2 bill. Kids always look forward to their coming, since the bill was given to them, and that's a lot of candy. Montgomery Ward's catalog, Sears, Western Auto, all the catalogs had already been marked and were always on the coffee table. People started visiting the bank to withdraw their Christmas club accounts. Last payments on layaway accounts, and on Saturdays the children were trying awfully hard to be good. Didn't want to get a lump of coal in the stocking, not that it ever happened, but it was not really hard not to search the house for the unwrapped presents. House decorations are going up, and out come the ladders. Some are pretty rickety. Teenage boys can make some really good spare change, stringing lights, working on tree lots, and helping old ladies hang up beat up, nasty ribboned wreaths. Some men are too old for this foolishness, and after a few falls and some broken eyeglasses, they just let the young boys do the job. For some men, the only pastime was making sure that the fruitcakes were moist with brandy. Many would visit each other's cellars just for the ritual. Soak the cakes, play cards, and have a little nip. This was the only time, and one of the few times, the ladies looked the other way. Woolworth, Kresge, was the favorite shopping place for many of the kids. If they were flush, they could get the 2-tier boxes of Russell Stover candies. Mufflers, gloves, everything you could think of. Coffee mugs, tie tacks with cufflinks to match. Paper dolls, cups, caps, cap guns. The little kids were stuck, tagging along with the parents. There was always an annual trip to Emery Bird Thayer to sit on Santa's lap. That was a show. Kids crying, frantic mothers, especially the ones with several kids, but many kids knew not to act up. Another, all a mother had to do was give the look. No trouble. The glorious Union Station was decorated, each night a different choir in the balcony singing, Christmas carols and lots of fun. Country Club Plaza, all the buildings are lit up, lined, and turned around. It was great. Favorite thing on Thanksgiving night was to go to the plaza and watch the mayor pull the plug, and on the lights went. Everyone acted like this was a new thing, but it went on every year. Old ladies have pulled out the candy dishes, big cut, monstrous candy dishes, filled to the brim with candy. Now mind you, some of this candy is pretty old. In fact, it's very old, but it makes the dish look good. Looks pretty. Here, honey, have a piece. Kids look at their parents, and now they give them the nod, and it's ribbon candy. Oops, stuck. Old boxes come out, angel hair, cracked ornaments, faded wax Santa candles, stuck together tinsel, lights tangled, Dead bulbs. Ugh. Extension cords. Always need more. Not that they're in a box in the basement full of extension cords. And in the attics, each man thinks his ceiling is higher than the other. And any tree on the lot is surely too short. So here they come home and they spend the rest of the evening sawing the tree in half. Mr. Benson always waited until Christmas Eve, so they usually had the worst tree. His children always cried. When he came home, we would come home late with the tree. Limbs missing. 1 year, a few of his lodge buddies said, "We can't do this anymore." So they went to the lot and bought the tree. It was the best thing the kids had ever had. He thought it was foolishness, waste of money. 'Twas the best Christmas ever for those kids, and they never forgot it. Each year, women tried to spruce the tree up. Boxes of new ornaments, purchases, more ornaments. Can never have too many. Most were usually forgotten. A lot when the house was sold were found in bags. But get out there, test the string, gotta have the right bulbs. Here we go. This has got to be perfect. But 1 year, the bubble lights came out, and everyone was so excited. What's not bubbling? Let it warm up. It's still not bubbling. Thump them. Okay, there they go. And there it is. The kids were amazed. Now, another year, there came out a plastic icicle, and it glowed in the dark. This was something. This was novel. This was new. So, put everything on the tree, bubble lights, plastic icicles, and that's it. Time to go to bed. Well, it seems like the icicles in the dark look like eyes. Women are calling each other laughing their heads off. Guess what? The kids are frightened and screaming. So some of the icicles had to come off because it started a rash of bedwetting. Strange thing about those icicles, after a few years, they no longer glowed.
Thank you. All right. Tarita. And then Bruce, then Karen, then Guy. And then these wonderful prizes of ours.
Okay.
Oh, let me get set
All
up there.
right.
Let me go really close.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of a new one. It's part of the Nene Chronicles. You know, this is like Shanae's uncle. You know, and being from Mississippi and living down in the South, you did a lot of things that related to the earth. So he said, "You mean to tell me you don't want me looking up in the heavens for signs of when to sow, reap, fish, hunt, or feed my family? You mean to tell me you want me to disobey my parents' rules for living on this land? You serious? You mean to tell me y'all Lord's Prayer that say, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, isn't right? Sounds like y'all recite without sight. You mean to tell me if I follow stars above for earth here below, I'll be committing a sin and burn in hell for eternity? Huh? You mean to tell me that if that's a sin before God to pay attention to stars that mark north, south, east, west when I walk home alone at night in the dark? I ain't ever been lost following them. You mean to tell me that's wrong? Don't ships use the North Star for navigation? They talk about it all the time. You mean to tell me they going to hell? You mean to tell me I'm not to lean on my own understanding? Look at here. My brother dodged a bullet 'cause a voice within him told him, move right now. Would have been dead if he believed what y'all Bible teach. Blind faith, stand still, trust with the whole heart. Ain't too smart if you ask me. Something ain't right. Y'all can't seem to make use of what's right in front of you. It's like y'all church got you scared to live. Everything around me is alive and watching, and I like it like that. Wade in the waters, wade in the waters, children, wade in the waters. God's gonna trouble the waters. My people turned away from worshiping the source of miracle and magic done. My people turned away from worshiping earth, water, winds, stars, and sun, so they could worship someone on a cross. Now so many are lost, deceived and made to believe guilt from another culture, a vulture polluting our well-beings with sights of non-realistic dreams. Now too many cry because too many die by sacrificial death worshiping lies. Try to turn us from the sun and memories of water, fire, light, wisdom. Drums, sacred hums, trees holding seeds with enchantments and glories, telling stories, evoking magic, sacred names, bringing thunder, lightning, and rain. Lord of my law, my gods, my people turn from senses, engraved by life's light, where body was first scripture and earth by heaven held the scripts to the laws of life. From water, spirit smells and spells with atmospheric wells of genetic keys. From winds, oracle messages and soft breezes. From mother tongue, sacred words connecting third eyes. From birds, seasonal flight messages in skies and the naming of our children for the presence in their lives. From earth, where gardens had worth and birth was not an ongoing pain, where raising the young was not a fearful game, where life wasn't frequently visited by the insane and maimed for and by a chemically synthesized, drug-infested disease, murderous reign. Yes, my people are troubled, yet they secretly know the poisonous snake they fight each day as ancestral spirits whisper miracles and magic done with earth, water, wind, stars, and sun, where darkened skin sung fire, light, wisdom as dark simmering coals housing souls in spiral rows of rainbowed lights, seers of scripted sights. Yes, our people are troubled by what might have been, could have been, before we allowed them to turn us away from worshiping earth, water, winds, stars, and sun, so we could worship someone on a cross. But this too shall pass. Who am I? This me in me that stares at them twinkling. What I in me knows their soul. What glow sewn to bone does heart see? Why did copper, carbon, iron, nitrate burst pairs in me, breathe breath in me, clothe the Holy Ghost name in me? Earth, living water is my home. Why have I forgotten lessons of this throne? Why do tides rise carrying mysteries I cannot hide?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Brandon and Karen and Rob and Guy. We gotta watch our time now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Brandon. You're Brandon, right?
Yeah, I'm Brandon.
Not the other Brandon.
I'm the older Brandon. Oh, that's Brandon.
I'm
You're
You didn't
talking
show up
Brandon.
last week, even though we had the theme.
That's true, and unfortunately, I wish I could have been here.
Alright.
Though I did
Forgiven.
I listened to everyone's work, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Rob's song in particular. Wow. Yes, the thing was write the words you don't want to say, and unfortunately, I was saying the words I couldn't write. I had a bit of an obligation.
Forgiven.
And you know, honestly, but this is most worthwhile testimony one can ever give, I suppose. But and it ended in a very unexpected way. I'm not going to read anything from me today. I'm going to read a very short piece, so I'll be cognizant of the time. But it ended very unusually, and I guess that's all I can say. But I had someone. There's a particular poem that I kept in my pocket for many months, and I forgot it was there. I was just literally going insane in Oklahoma, trying to come out to California, and hopefully this particular piece means something to some people in the audience. But it's a piece from Charles Bukowski.
Oh, hey.
Particular favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And it's All the Way. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All of the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
Lovely.
Karen, and then Rob.
And then Rob, and then Guy, and then we'll take care of these distribution of these fine prizes. All right. Oh, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
It's been a big night. Yeah. Beautiful. As far as I know, the reading at that Greg just announced, it starts at 7.
Closer to
I think it starts at 7 at the Beat Museum, unless I'm mistaken. That's Friday night. The reading from this book, World Without Wars, the 6th volume of Overthrowing Capitalism. And this beautiful cover by Agneta Falk. I'm going to read, first of all, her poem that's in here, and then I'll read my own. Agneta Falk, Fear of Other. In dark minds, it festers, bubbles up like blind hatred with anger fueled by the tinsel and clowns on campaign trails looking for scapegoats. All that hate resurrected turns to patriotism. White supremacy waiting for orders to attack. So many flags caught in a storm blowing in the wrong direction. Too many lost fools digging their future in blood without the slightest crack in their armor to let some reason in to cover up their bottomless greed and fear of other. This is her Agneta Falk's cover for the book called Soul. If you can see it, I don't know. It's a very beautiful cover. All right, my poem is, you may recognize Al-Mutnabi Street in Iraq, where a bookstore was bombed, and I mean, it was a horrible time, and it has been remembered year after year. So this was what I wrote. Roads from Al-Mutanabi Street, Baghdad, Iraq. All roads lead from Al-Mutanabi Street, built from poetry. Built on roads now desolate with destruction, now bearing witness to the aftermath of terror and death, yet still holding the name of a poet, the poet Mutanabi, born almost 1,000 years after Jesus had walked the streets of Nazareth and was crucified for questioning, killed for making friends with outcasts. The poet Mutanabi claimed horses, night, and the desert as his friends, and the sword, the spear, paper, and the pen. 26 ghosts walk Al-Mutanabi Street, ghosts who brush by the old open-air market, market of books, market of ideas, market of Mutanabi, bombed on March 5th, 2007, by a suicide bomber and a car, killing over 24 souls, injuring over 100 more, where the books still talk among themselves, sneeze at their own dust, remember their ancient stories and the terrifying day of their demise, ghosts of books spilling out into the street where children play in the rubble of literacy. Not to be forgotten, all streets lead to Al-Mutanabi Street. All streets lead from Al-Mutanabi Street. The cobbles watch the poets. Remember the horses and wagons. Remember the children. The cobbles talk among themselves of live poets and dying remnants, ripped from an open-air market 12 years ago. All streets of the oppressed, all streets where poets and artists dwell, are today Al-Mutanabi, are today the books and ideas talking among themselves of live poets and dying remnants, whose blood will glow through history in every city, in every street, where books may bleed.
And now Rob, then Guy, then the door prizes.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention at Soma Arts tomorrow night, 6 to 9, 934 Brennan Street. Resistance.
Oh, he's clear. All right.
This is
Oh, and
yours.
I'm also in civil liberties book.
Oh, yes.
I forgot.
Going on. Forgot that tomorrow and then Friday and then Sunday.
Yeah, lots. All
How Craigslist got started. You write all of those like
Were you at San Francisco
email.
State? Did you read that at San Francisco
Oh, yes,
State?
I may have read here. I read lovely stuff.
What's your name again?
Oh, my goodness.
Karen.
Oh, that was difficult.
Hello, Rob.
Hello.
Remember to get close to the microphone, Rob.
So you're telling me that I left an event early and screeched across town to be here for David's theme, and he's not here?
Chuckle.
Oh, wow, number 3.
Chuckle means chuckle with a spit in it.
I'm gonna strangle him. All right, 2 shorties.
Shorties?
Shorties.
Oh boy, briefs.
The moment we met, my heart knew I'm supposed to love and protect you. A different message came to my head. Better to flee and neglect you instead. Invisible robots cried, danger, danger! Best cling to confines of kindly stranger. My hormones cry to break the tie. Fuck her breathless until we die. What's a lonely quixotic fool to do? Martyr myself to nurture you?
Yes.
Go all the way.
I'll just go with yes.
I thought I was embarrassed by a president's sexist rants. I thought I was embarrassed by a cyclist named Lance. Thought I was embarrassed when I saw my first square dance. I thought I was embarrassed when I forgot the capital of France. I thought I was embarrassed by our fetish for gothic romance. I thought I was embarrassed when Grandma got implants. But I never knew real embarrassment till I spuckled in my pants.
I never saw someone knock it out with a spuckle.
Oh my God!
And Guy, and then we take care of these wonderful door prizes. The door doesn't want them, so I'm going to give them away.
Oh my God!
Oh, you get to do it.
Like, what did Windows ever get?
This is a short one for the road.
All right.
It's called Free Verse Departure. Poets bring nothing to the party. They don't even ask. They show up on time or late. They get lost. They say they're coming but don't. They arrive in time for food, stand in a corner and drink, never take off their coat. They'll strip to a t-shirt, talk about Bird, things you've never heard as Parker plays on your Alexa. Sometimes poetry breaks out. Someone picks up a guitar. There's action on the roof. Shy cats come out of hiding. An enormous radish gets carved into art. Memory floats up from an afternoon in Oaxaca, 1984. The houseboat rises, warms. Everyone leaves all at once. In a free verse departure, sink full of dishes, someone leaves a hat. The night itself became a poem. And guess what? That's what the poets brought.
Ah. All right. If you've had half as much fun as I've had, then you've had half as much as fun. I've been shuffling these cards. When you signed in, you put your name next to a number, and now these cards will help me distribute these things if someone would kindly cut them, and then we'll take care of it. Next week we have Georgette Howington as our feature. She's been here once before at least, and she's...
Don't run with scissors, Dan Brady.
Huh?
Don't run with scissors.
No. I will not mess with superstition.
Don't forget to bust your tables.
That's right.
Even if the table says it's a car.
Take
All
a
right.
taxi.
Who is number 27?
Hilarious.
Karen Melinda McGee.
Oh, no.
No, you're the first one.
Come on down. Karen Carpenter, come on, get back.
Oh, I forgot that Michelle Head's CD here is, she was here last week and she gave you that. I'm distributing it.